Get in here. All right, we got a countdown, so that's a good start. Can you hear me? We are all set for qualifying, however. Just trying to see if we are currently live on YouTube, and in fact we are. So, welcome to round 3 of LSR Formula 1. Of course, didn't have a stream for Group 1 last week, sadly just didn't have a load of attendance, so I had myself join in. So should be a rather interesting race. Of course, staying in this session, we got a bunch of cars making their way out to start qualifying. But of course, I am your commentator for today. I'm Bacon Haddock, so of course, thank you for anybody joining in for this one. And again, should be a good one. Got a good chunk got a really good participation rate here in this one, as we got a V-Carb leading the way. And that will be B-Tom, your championship leader and race winner last time out in Imola, which was pretty tight for the entirety of the race. Had a couple of safety cars mixed in there, mixing up some of the order. So we'll see if the multi-time LSR Group 1 championship can repeat. Hello, Robin. Hopefully you are doing well. Yeah, of course, 18 drivers taking to the grid for round 3. Should be interesting. Of course, Silverstone, one of the classic Formula 1 circuits, of course, has the reverse version in this year's game. After driver vote, we're not seeing any reverse circuits on the calendar this season. But still, should be a rather interesting race. I think definitely one where you got to manage your tires right. Should be a pretty easy, medium to hard one-stop for all of these drivers. But let's see how this pans out. Of course, racing should be close. I think in a lot of past games with Silverstone, it's been a lot of borderline pack racing. Of course, seeing a lot of DRS trains. But we'll stay on board with B-Tom as he gets underway with the first qualifying lap of the session. Of course, coming here through these final couple of corners onto the Hamilton Straight to start the lap, one of the few circuits without DRS down the pit straight. I believe only Silverstone and Abu Dhabi that honor. Of course, turn 3, your first proper braking zone, getting it slowed right down. Probably going to see a bit of chaos in the scramble, getting down into that corner. And of course, getting the power down out and around the circuit. Blasting straight ahead. One sec, I got a ping. Hold on. But of course, making your way now into this kind of back straight. Of course, the old pit straight. Apologies to respond to. Of course, blasting down into Cops, very high speed. You're going to see a lot of drivers probably drop down into 7th gear through Cops to get a little bit more torque on the exit. Of course, into Maggots and Beckett's now, really asking all of these tires warm conditions. Going to see a good bit of sliding. And then probably your second best overtaking spot in the circuit with an extra helping of DRS. And B-Tom actually going to pick up a nice little tow there from one of the Aston Martins. I believe it was Vanzantino. Of course, back into the final couple of corners now. Of course, that beautiful white Racing Bulls will power around the final corner and will go top with a 26.174. Will be your first lap time to the top of the order in this session. One of the Red Bulls come to the line. That's Swarovski with a 27.4. So maybe a little bit of a mistake towards the end of that lap. A little bit of, pretty tight getting towards the end of this one. As we do have Stratton joining the fray. So we'll have at least 19 in this one. As apologies. So we'll have at least one more. So we're good to go there. Is there space? I think, so Stratton's on the way. He does have one reserve role, and then we are waiting on one more. So Stratton just reached out, so otherwise, so at this point, yes, we are considered full. Muda, meanwhile, 26.3, he'll slot his Haas into second position for the moment. Anthrax Robin is out. I think that's a wheel failure for the Alpine. So technical problems there. Mango 26-9 in his first race here in season number 12. You got his teammate of Goatley just getting underway with a lap for Ferrari. We'll jump on board with BXT Bernat as he, who do I ask? I am vacant. That's it. I saw that, but I know I was talking with Stratting as well, with him trying to get in. So apologies there. Lurka, meanwhile, goes top 25-6. So the Williams driver soars to the top of the order. Vanzantino as well, 26-1, as the Aston Martin getting involved there. We'll jump on board with the Chrome McLaren here of Hog Rider. One sec, I just need to make sure that Stratting is on the way. I have not seen him yet. I'm gonna send another one just to be sure. Yeah, because I know we are waiting on. Yeah, because it's Stratting and then one more is the current idea. We'll stick with Hog Rider though, making his way through the final couple of corners now. Of course, he'll get on the power around the corner to the line. Sorry, I didn't hear you. So we are full right now, Pete. So we have Stratting on the way, who would be 19, and then we are expecting a 20th potentially, who let me know that he would be on the way in Froggy Boggy. We'll see if we get them both, but unsure. Stuck on communicating is Stratting. So again, should hopefully get a chunk of drivers in. But Hog Rider, 7th quickest. Kaname jumped up into 4th, and Jerome Mellon into 3rd. Wessel, meanwhile, very tight, as he'll go 2nd fastest, so very tight at the front of the field. You know, got those top 3 separated by only about 3/10 yet. Kaname not too far off. Beatall, a little bit of an uncharacteristic 6th. Of course, Silverstone, going to be one of the tracks where you maybe expect, I don't want to necessarily say some specialists, as I believe it was MK7 Hitch going 8th fastest. We'll jump on board with Mac T as he makes his way around. Also, sounds like it was a brake pedal issue for Anthrax Robbins, so definitely disappointed to see him go out in this early stage. Mac T, meanwhile, for Aston Martin, how quick can he go? He'll put Kaname in a bit of an Aston Martin sandwich, so he'll jump up to the 2nd row of the grid after the first flurry of laps. Get up on the board. So I believe the only driver then on a lap right now would be Goatley, who is out of inters right now, a little bit surprisingly. So potentially just trying to save some tires at this point, trying to make sure that his setup is dialed in. So a bit of an odd choice for Ferrari, maybe a little bit of Ferrari strategy getting involved. He'll dive into the pits, and I assume the next 2 laps will both be on the soft compound of tire. So we'll see if his lap time can fall. Hitch, meanwhile, making his way back around, which means that I believe it's Muncher in his LSR debut will be the first driver to set a 2nd lap, if I am reading the field correctly. Actually, no, it'll be Zroski down there in 16th for the moment. 27.4 on his first lap, so we'll see how much he can potentially improve. Zroski scoring points in a reserve outing last weekend at Imola. Of course, working his way now through the first cup. On the brakes hard, really only that one braking zone here in Sector 1. You can really just lift and coast here through Turn 4, keep that in 3rd gear, and then really jam the power. Getting traction the traction right is super important. Of course, DRS wide open, but a lot of straight line speed. And Zroski already up about a 10th and a half. You can see a little bit of a wiggle there as he gets on the brakes. Of course, keeping it tight as we work through Sector 2 now. And actually going to pick up maybe a little bit of a tow from the Williams as we blast down the old pit lane and into Cops. We'll jump on board so you can see what I mean, but yeah, you should see... Zroski's opting to keep an 8th gear through there. So we'll see how many other drivers do that. Down into 6th, and of course, down into 5th, and then you're going to want to get right up on the power, utilizing all of the curbs that you can. And Zroski up on 1.3 seconds now. So a mix of track evolution, and Zroski absolutely flying here. This is looking like it should be a very nice time for the reserve. Of course, 1-3 will put him comfortably up into the 26s. If he can manage to hold that momentum through the rest of this lap, where will he jump up to? He'll jump up into the top 10. 26.110 for Zorowski is a very good time to slot him up into currently P7. Hey, T-Bone, hopefully you're doing well. Got a good chunk of second laps going up on the board now. We'll jump on board with the Haas of Mudev as he makes his way around. Of course, Muncher as well is actually looking, I think, like he dove into the pits there. Yeah, Muncher dove into the pits, so Muncher aborted his lap, so he will not improve. So he's maybe got enough time for 2 more shots, but he'll be definitely keeping it tight as we get deeper and deeper into this qualifying session. Mudev, meanwhile, has found 2 tenths. We'll see if he can find any more, because again, the field's super tight. It's only 6 tenths separating the top 10, or actually, probably closer to 5 to half a second is the difference. Again, you can find a lot of time. You can also lose a lot of time in this final sector as Mudev, around the final couple of corners to the line, he'll jump up into 6, so we'll get ahead of Manzantino into the 25s. Meanwhile, our 2 drivers currently fighting for divisional pole are on laps. We'll stay on board with Lurka through the rest of his lap as he makes his way through Maggots and Beckett's in what, of course, is the home race for Williams and, quite frankly, the majority of Formula One teams. Down through 2 sectors, though, is Lurka. About matching those first 2 sectors, but not improving by much. Wessel, meanwhile, picking up a 10th in the first sector. He's got about half, a good chunk, or sorry, not even half, a good chunk of that lap remaining. Lurker around the final couple of corners to the line. He'll improve by about 1/10 of a second, but it's not by much. Wessel, meanwhile, has got 1.5 tenths in hand. So the McLaren man could be potentially fighting for pole position here. Hogrider goes 8th quickest. This got an Alpine coming to the line as well. That's going to be Kaname, only jumping up to 4th, though. Big wiggle, though, for Wessel as he makes his way through the final couple of corners. Can he still improve? He will, but it will be by significantly less time than he had in hand. So he will drop into 3rd as Mango goes to the top of the order, 25.471. And now we have a new driver battling up at the top as Mac T disconnects, so we'll try to get him back in. As an unfortunate disconnect there, so we'll go ahead and re-invite him. Again, got a number of drivers kind of going at it. Goatley jumps up into 15th as he gets a decent time on the board. Jerome Mellon, meanwhile, tops Mango. He'll go top 25.401. And you can see that bar going to continue to fall throughout the rest of this session. B-Tom, meanwhile, is on a push, on a bit of a lap here. Again, shouldn't be dealing with too much traffic. But working his way through Sector 2, or Sector 1, rather. Still trying to, get back up to speed after having a bit of a bye week. But through Sector 1, and B-Tom is off to the races early. He's up 3 tenths in the first sector. Again, just look at how tight this pack is. First, all the way down to 14th, separated by 8 tenths of a second. Going to be super tight. I'm still trying to figure that out. Also, I don't have you added is the other issue. If you want to add me, you can. I can try, but I know Stratting is joining. And I'm trying to get Mac T back in. As one moment. You keep an eye on B-Tom there in the background. Mac T is no longer showing as online. Vacant Haddock, all one word. As actually B-Tom, I'm going to dive into the pits here, so that'll give me a moment to search for Mac T. But of course, everybody diving into the pits here. I think we're good. All right, I think Stratting is in the lobby. He just will not be taking place in qualifying. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, vacant paddock, all one word. So I'll keep an eye out for that. But of course, time is running down. 3 minutes left to go here in qualifying. Zrowski getting out early, trying to get some free track in order to get a lap in. And as you can see, a number of drivers starting to make their way out. Got a Williams, got a Haas, you got an Aston Martin, vacant paddock. So switch the P for an H. P for a capital H. Haddock, like the fish. But yeah, got a number of drivers all working their way out. Getting out of the way as well, as Zrowski makes his way through, sitting in 10th right now. So a solid go with things early. As Zrowski making his way through Sector 1. We'll see if he's managed to pick up any time. Of course, no traffic for the entirety of his lap. And he's picked up a little bit over half a tenth through Sector 1. Again, you can see Zrowski really fighting with that car, though. Seeing a lot of wiggling as he gets on the power. Good chunk of counter steering getting thrown in there as he gets underway with his lap. I will go ahead and accept that. And I will try to get you in since I have not heard from our extra one. Lethal Pete. And Vegan Hammock. And then I'm not seeing Mac T. Sec. Alright, but here comes Zrowski. And Zrowski is invalidated. Yeah, at this point, go for it. You will not take part in qualifying, and of course, keep it clean. But yeah, Zrowski will have another go of things as well. So we'll see if the Red Bull, with that extra lap, less of fuel, though with slightly more worn tires, can get it done. 50 seconds remaining, though. Just stay in spectator mode as well. Just stay in that kind of mode where you join the session. Don't select a team as of just yet. You'll get auto-assigned one, which is fine. Got a number of drivers stacking up, trying to generate some space. So this could cause some people to miss out on qualifying. Keep an eye on that mini-map in the bottom right-hand corner as you get the McLaren stacking up. How much time is left? How much time is left in the session? Everybody's going to have to scramble in order to get laps in here. You got a Ferrari overtaking. Because of those yellow flags, it's not clear. Okay, there are 10 seconds left. So drivers will get those laps in. But it will be very, very tight. So every driver on track will be getting their lap on the board. Zrowski not significantly improving through the first couple of sectors. Mac T will not improve from 6th. Kaname's up a 10th. Wessel is working his way to the end of Sector 1. He's about matched his first sector time. Lurka is working through Sector 2. Mango is still pretty early in his lap. It's Jerome Mellon, though, leading the way with provisional pole. Making his way now through the final couple of corners. We got Zrowski crossing the line. He will start no better than 8th, but still a very solid lap time from him. Jerome Mellon, meanwhile, provisional pole sitter for Sauber, making his way through the final couple of corners, and he will improve by about a 10th, so that sets the bar for everybody else. Mango is invalidated, so Mango will not improve. Lurka now making his way through the final couple of corners as Mudev has crossed the line. There's Jordan going 5th quickest. Here comes Lurka to the line. Can he steal provisional pole away? He cannot. Wessel, meanwhile, is pushing towards the line as Hitch has to retire. Wessel working his way through the final couple of corners. Kaname goes 2nd quickest. Where will Wessel slot into the order? Wessel goes 2nd quickest. He's not able to unseat provisional pole. So the last shot may be for B-Tom. He's got about 6/10 in his laps right now. He's got Goatley just ahead of him. There comes B-Tom and Goatley to the line. Goatley goes 6th. B-Tom goes 3rd. And so it will be Jerome Mellon taking provisional pole here at Silverstone in what should be a very, very interesting race here to come. Muncher was Lurka as well. Picked up a 5th-place grid penalty, which I did miss because apparently caused a collision at some point. So Lurka will drop a fair bit down the order, but look how tight that pack is. Top 6 separated by 2/10. So what it should be a very, very interesting race. Also, any drivers listening, do not ready up on the grid. Please stay on the strategy or the setup screen. I will let you know when to ready up for anybody who is listening. But again, should be a very interesting race. Going to be seeing, again, it'll be interesting to see exactly how some of this pans out. Going to be seeing probably, may see a little bit of soft to hard. I think medium to hard, hard to medium is going to be a lot of what we see in this race. But should be a lot of tight racing in this one, as I do need to start at this point, we'll do 90 seconds. Countdown to get ready to go. So again, about 90 seconds before the ready up command. Again, looking for all of our drivers to keep it clean through the first couple of corners. We'll have to wait and see exactly how some of this pans out. Of course, fuel is going to be a question. How aggressive do you want to get on potential fuel saving? How many, do we think we'll get a safety car here? Is going to be something important to keep in mind. But again, still lots of interesting things that could happen in this race. Definitely keep an eye on B-Tom. But we'll have to wait and see exactly what goes down. Again, keep an eye on tire pressures is going to be something that is really important for some of these drivers, making sure that they don't overheat, especially with how much of an impact dirty air is in this game. Oh, there is the ready up command, so 30 seconds. It should be interesting to see what goes down here. Again, hoping for some clean racing. There is the countdown trill. So that means we are ready to get going. Of course, it is a bit of a tricky run down to the first braking zone at turn 3. So all the better. If you're starting on pole with the Sauber of Jerome Mellon, Will Wessel have a run, though, into turn 1. We're lights out and underway here in Silverstone. It looks to be a good getaway from the entirety of the grid. Got an Alpine looking to the inside, but Jerome Mellon getting the best of that restart as everybody funnels through the first couple of corners that look to be a car around. That is former Kitten in the Haas. There's also that's also Wessel going very deep with a massive lockup there. He's going to drop a load of positions. He's going to have to elbow Mango out of the way a little bit. I'm just going to give Jerome Mellon a ton of room to try and get a breakaway going here. Also caught up Hitch and Hog Rider. You got BXT Bernat going off down there at turn 4 as multiple cars going off the circuit. So chaos here in the opening lap. Got Lurka there in ninth. He had a very nice start. As again, you're seeing a bit of tire choices being different. Mediums for most of the grid. It's hards for Goatley. It's softs for Matt T. and mediums for everybody else. So we're going to keep an eye on Goatley and MacT as this race continues to potentially make moves up or down the grid. I'll go ahead and leave the tire graphic on so we can keep track of everybody. But through lap 1, it's B-Tom up in a second and Kaname into third. Got a bit of a mistake there from Zroski, who looked like had to cut the corner there. It's going to be Lurka motoring by him. But already starting to fall into a bit of one-on-one. I think that was Zroski maybe trying to fight back against Lurka with some straight line speed there. And Zroski's going to drop all the way down to 11th now. And Zroski's got front wing damage. Zroski with a damaged end plate. His teammate's going to go to the inside, and there's contact, and Zroski's rounding into the wall. So Zroski trying to deal with damage there, maybe tried to go for the pit lane and unable to do it. And there's a number of drivers. Zroski, and you got Kitten, BXT, Hogrider, and Hitch all diving into the pits here on lap number 2. So a bit of carnage here in the early stages of this race. So all happening down in the mid-pack. The top 14 all together now. You're taking a look at some of the predicted race strategies as well. You're seeing 2-stop and 3-stop being some of the predicted strategy. We'll see if anybody goes that way. But 1-stop, I think definitely the way what to try and shoot for with some tire management. But will we see people try and go aggressive, try and take track position over 26 laps here at Silverstone? DRS, of course, activated now. And so B-Tom half a second behind. Lethal Pete as well, up into 13th. Working through Maggots and Beckett's now. It's a solid exit for Jerome. B-Tom, meanwhile, starting to make a little bit of a breakaway from Kaname. It looks like we're seeing the start of a DRS train forming here. You got a Haas looking around the outside there. That's Mudev trying to go around the outside of Pete. And Mudev going to try to get it done on the exit, and he will. So good move there from the Haas. But again, field remaining pretty solid after lap 1. Taking a look, though, at some of the position changes. And of course, you got Wessel, we saw go very deep down at turn 3, potentially due to contact, but I think more likely just trying to be a bit braver on the brakes on the outside and just overcooked it a little bit, potentially on cold tires. Lurka up 3 spots. Muncher and Drex Robin both up 6. I think definitely beneficiaries of some of the chaos that happened further down the field. As here on lap 3, got B-Tom closing a little bit, but not quite close enough to get a move done. Zroski going to retire in the pits here. As potentially that Red Bull not getting his front wing change like he hoped. We saw the damage on that car. Again, you got a number of drivers up ahead a little bit. Again, we'll continue on here. But half a second is the gap from B-Tom to Jerome. So again, you got everybody sticking super close together for now. So got, again, MacT and Goatley will be interesting drivers to watch. Of course, being stuck in this DRS train, not going to be the greatest thing for those soft compound tires. Of course, if you are this front pack, you're just going to want to continue to try and pull away, try and continue to put good laps on the board. Bit of a lockup there. We got Vanzantino closing in on Mango, and Vanzantino looking to go to the inside. Kaname has now disconnected. So Mango's going to lose some time there as Vanzantino tried to stick a nose to the inside, but unable to get anything going. As we will try to make sure Kaname gets back in the session before he loses too many positions. Of course, that'll be an advantage to everybody behind him. Wessel, meanwhile, has now fallen off the back due to that disconnect of B-Tom and Jerome Ellen. And I don't think he'll get DRS here. Kaname has rejoined, though, and hopefully will be able to retake control. But that's a big advantage for Jerome and B-Tom, who can now potentially turn this into a 2-horse race up front. And Wessel going to be under pressure of going backwards here. You got former Kitten spun in the Haas. Of course, you got a whole bunch of drivers. You got Hogrider, BXT, and Hitch all battling away further down the order. Jordan's having a very nice race. He's up into 4th. It does look like as well. Yes, there is Kaname retaking control on that little flash. Into Maggots and Beckett. It's going to be Vanzantino looking to get the move done, though. Kaname, though, able to defend. Well, still will be under threat here. You got Ferrari running a bit wide there as well. That's Mango. Or, sorry, that was Goatley round. And so Goatley's round, and that'll bring out a safety car here. So big incident there for Goatley. Will bring out a safety car, and you got a bunch of cars diving into the pits here on lap number 4, and it looks like everybody going to charge into the pits. You got an Aston Martin there staying out. That's Vanzantino who's opted to stay out, but everybody else diving into the pits. But big crash there for Goatley, and massive damage on track will bring out the first safety car of this race here on lap number 5. And so everybody diving in, thinking, I think, 2-stop at this stage. So it'll probably be hard 2-stop. So it's making sure you get that quick time event right. Looks like everybody has. So Vanzantino, I think, definitely made a poor decision to stay out there. But big will from Goatley, and into the wall he goes. So we'll be under the safety car for the next couple of laps. And of course, that'll bring Kitten back into this. Hog Rider, BXT, and Hitch will all be comfortably back into this race. I think if you're Vanzantino, you definitely made a bit of an error there, trying to stay out on those mediums. Again, you do have the advantage of maybe stay in that warming picture a little bit longer. But I do think you have to question the decision of the Aston Martin to stay out on track, especially when it was clear. Especially when it was clear how all 13 drivers in that lead group all were diving into the pits. So again, under safety car here at Silverstone. Tier 1 guys are fast. That's why it's Tier 1, Pete. Definitely hard to keep up. But, again, luckily has seemed, outside of that opening lap, has seemed pretty clean so far. Of course, we will have a rolling restart at this point. Also, that trailing group of 4 all opted to dive into the pits as well. So we'll see this safety car phase extended for a bit, which will work to Kitten and Hog Rider and Hitch and Burnat's advantage a little bit, as they'll all be sticking with, or at least, because they've got half a lap to make up, so they'll continue to push, and so they can get those tires into the right window. Goatley going to dive into the pits again, as he does not like being on those mediums. So we'll jump on board. What tires is Ferrari going to pick? I imagine it will be the hard tire, and it will. Of course, that front wing did get changed in that last stop. And of course, he'll only lose, I believe, 2 or 3 positions there. Actually, no, I don't believe he'll lose any positions at the end of that one. So again, everybody trying to charge back around to catch the pack. The Ferrari, though, going to be released. And now we'll have the freshest hard tires of the field once we get back underway. And he'll, again, have a little bit of extra time to get those up to temperature. So it'll be either this lap or next lap guaranteed that we get back underway. Of course, now that almost everybody has made a stop, we'll take another look quickly at some of those position changes. Of course, Vanzantino up 7 spots due to some of that carnage that ensued. Jordan's having a solid race. He's up 2 spots. Anthrax Robin up 9 positions. So he's having a very nice race. Of course, after having brake issues in qualifying, took him out. So he started from 18th place. So we did have Pete join, who started from 19th. But again, going to be interesting to see this as we get underway. Once we cross that Sector 3, Sector 2 timing marker, apologies, we'll get the message whether or not safety car is in this lap. I imagine we'll be seeing safety car in next lap. And we will be seeing safety car in next lap as those lights still on that safety car. And just trying to confirm here, as it's going to be, it might be a little bit tight. And we will be having another lap here under safety car. So we get back underway at the start of lap number 8. So it'll be a 19 laps of racing left to go once we get back underway. And I think if you're Vanzantino, at this point, you're just trying to keep your nose fairly clean. There's definitely the aspect of, trying to figure out, is BXT going to dive into pits? He'll take the fresh set of tires now that he's caught the pack. We'll go ahead and throw up that tire graphic as well. Again, going to be very interesting to see how some of the choices over the rest of this race continues. Is anybody on the hards? I think here's going to be an interesting question to keep in mind over the rest of the race. Does anybody in the hards think that they can go the distance faster than anybody who thinks they may need an additional stop? So there's still a lot of racing left to go, and we saw how, especially in some of that dirty air, Goatley already started to struggle with tire overheating. And remember, he was on the hard compound of tire when he had that incident that brought up the safety car that we are now on. So will that impact any decision-making from some of those in the mid-pack? Of course, there are a couple of guys on controller, so tire management there will be a little bit more difficult. And yes, even with this being the top tier, you still have some psychos who are just this fast on controller, despite it being a bit more of a disadvantage in this year's game than years past. But it will be back underway at racing speed this lap, as we will get the safety car in message. Once we pull out here, is BXT still waiting for BXT to catch the pack. A little bit of a mix-up in the field, though, it looks like. So we'll see, looks like that got sorted out. You can see that Mercedes in the background joining the field. But lights are off, so we should get back underway. Lights are off on the safety car. If you'll excuse me real quick, I am going to go ahead and just do this just to be safe, because I've seen this happen before. Okay, and we are all set. But about to go back to green flag racing here. Apologies, I just want to make sure that the safety car did go into the pit lane, and Van Zantino will take off. So once again, we're back to racing here in Silverstone. That's not a great getaway from Van Zantino, as Jerome Mellon with a great restart there as we head into the first couple of corners. And Sauber all over the Aston Martin already, and it's a green car battle, and Jerome Mellon down the inside. He'll get that move done into the first braking zone. So Jerome gets it done, and he'll get back on the power. So already Van Zantino losing out on that lead, and those mediums certainly not going to be the best tire for much longer. Van Zantino going to go defensive, so B-Tom going to try to hang it around the outside. It'll become the inside here as we get to the old pit straight. And can the Racing Bulls driver get it done? Yes, he can. And so he'll get back underway, and he's now free. Wessel looking to the inside as well. The man who started on the front row, unable to get past that Aston Martin, going to be tucked too far to the inside of that rear wing. Going to have to go a little bit wide, and going to have to hold off for a little bit longer. Will that allow the two-car breakaway to happen at the front once again? I think still yet to be determined. But yeah, and got a bunch of cars kind of shifting all over the place on the restart. Pete drops down to 17th. You got Mac T in 9th. You got Lurka up in 8th, of course, after having that grid penalty. But we'll start from across the line to start lap number 9. You got the McLaren looking to the inside. Looks like contact between the McLaren and the Aston Martin. And so that's going to be Van Zantino going very wide. That's going to promote Jordan up into a podium position. There's Mango to the inside of Wessel. He'll get through as well. And so a big incident there at the final corner is Van Zantino being the cork in the bottle. It was very hard to see exactly what happened there. You got Kaname looking to the inside of Wessel now, as he looks to get it done. You got Lurka there as well trying to get moves done, but he's a bit boxed in. And so he's got nowhere to go. Van Zantino's now dropped all the way down to 18th place. And so the Aston Martin taking that gamble, and it has not paid off due to that incident. So, of course, not what you'd want to see. And now it's Mango all over the back of Jordan. Again, it's a two-horse race between B-Tom and Jerome. As you can see, based on that helicopter shot. And further behind, you got the Alpine and the McLaren side by side as we blast down the cops. It's going to be Kaname coming out with a bit more of the edge. As we head into Maggots and Beckett's, we'll jump back to the battle for the lead as B-Tom right on Jerome. As we make our way through the twisty part of the racetrack, DRS, of course, is activated. So B-Tom will have that extra straight line speed. powering down the straightaway. He's going to look to the inside on the Sauber, and by the time they get into the braking zone, it is B-Tom who takes the lead here in Silverstone. Mango all over the back of Jordan. So whereas both V-Carbs holding positions or getting better, you got, is that Lurker looking to the inside of Wessel. He'll have to back out of that, though. I was just unsure if he could make that corner. Again, battling continues here, and look at this chase pack. Third down to 14th. All tightly packed together. Very much sardined here. Here on lap number 10, after that safety car restart. And again, I imagine with a lot of these drivers are going to have to consider there's a Ferrari with a bold move. That's Goldley to the inside of Muncher. Under braking, turn 4 is not a place where you see a lot of moves attempted. They'll be side by side as they come down the straightaway here. Beaton, meanwhile, continues to lead. Goatley going to try to get it done under brakes, and he will. So that's Goatley back up into 11th. Solid move there. Again, you got Jordan really just, again, being a bit of a bottle stopper here. Holding off Mango and starting to pull away a little bit now. So you can see how much of that dirty air proven to be a bit of a factor. Again, we'll jump back to this battle for the lead. Now, can Jerome potentially take this lead back from B-Tom? Of course, first green flag lead change that we've seen in this race happened just one lap ago. Doesn't look like we'll get another one here, though. Will we have a change in position for the podium? Is Mango closing? Going to take a look to the outside. Hey, but good defensive line there from Jordan. Able to keep that door firmly closed. Mango take a peek to the inside, trying to put Jordan off a little bit, but unable to do anything with it. As everybody once again will come across the line, and we'll go around again. So again, lots of battles taking place up and down the grid so far. Take a look. It is B-Tom, currently the fastest driver on circuit, 28.814. So you got, you can see Kaname there in the background. Very close to going into Mango, and now they will make contact. Kaname looking to get past Mango. There's a bit of contact, and Mango now going to have to try to hang it around the outside. You got 4 cars under a blanket here. Mango still comes out in front. It's still Kaname in 5th. Lurker and Wessel going to be side by side. Lurker with the inside goes in the back of Kaname. And who's going to hold on to it? It's going to be Mango for now. Wessel's going to try to sneak it back up the inside of Kaname. Going to try to squeeze him out here. A bit of a wiggle from the McLaren. And there's a bit of contact. Now it's the Williams up the inside, squeezing through the tiniest of gaps, getting on the curb. And now is going to make sure that he gets that moved on Kaname. So Kaname all the way down to 7th. Jordan starting to make a bit of a breakaway here from this second pack. Can Mango close the gap? You got Goatley and Mudev side by side as we enter Maggots and Beckett's. They battle over the final point scoring position. As tons and tons of tight racing going on here today at Silverstone. Again, B-Tom holds on to that lead. You can see Muncher all over Mudev there in the background, trying to find a way through. A bit wide, though, from Goatley. Of course, track limits penalties could prove to be a factor the longer this race goes on. Jordan, meanwhile, starting to make a bit of a breakaway from Mango. There's Wessel round. Wessel's in the wall. Wessel with a massive tank slapper. Doesn't seem to have too much damage, but is going to be all but out of this race. Was that just that just looked like the rear end giving out for Wessel. It looked like Wessel's rear end just gave out there, and he'll recover that car. But a big wreck there for Wessel, and the McLaren, who was running very strongly during this race, is now all but out of it. And so certainly, disappointed to see him. Yeah, again, it just looked like Wessel just, lit up those rear tires that little bit too much, and that's what ended up putting him in the wall. So very disappointed to see there. There's, some great battling going on between Mango, Lurka, Kaname, and Wessel just a half a lap to go. About a full lap now. We'll have to see if that continues. Mango, meanwhile, will start to pull away a little bit from Lurka. We'll see if he can keep the Williams out of DRS range. It looks like he can. It looks like he has, at least for now. Meanwhile, Mango is closing in on Jordan, who lost a lot of time on the previous lap. Again, it's still B-Tom and Jerome, just kind of continuing to inch away now. But this would be an incredible result for Racing Bulls if it stands. But still, there's so much time left in this race. Those tires are just going to continue to get more and more worn as this session continues, remember, how long will these tires last? Because remember, you're going to wear the tires out, a good bit, as you try to keep them warm in the under safety car conditions. So I imagine we're going to see some extra pit stops. Wessel will retire after that incident 1 lap ago. So at the halfway point, 2 drivers now down and out, as we are here on lap number 13. B-Tom and Jerome continue to lead. Mango, though, starting to close in on Jordan, trying to get up in that podium position. Lurka, who's had a great race, working his way through the field, going to be looking to get moves done as well now that he's in DRS range. But how much straight line speed does the Ferrari have? Kaname disconnects again. So definitely don't want to see that. But DRS going to reactivate. It does seem to be getting rather cloudy here, as here comes Mango looking to get a move done. He'll try to hang around the outside of Jordan. Gets that rear wheel to the front wheel to the rear axle. They'll be side by side now into the final couple of corners. And Mango under braking with a very nice move to get it done. Jordan going to try to work that move and get it back through. But Mango doing a nice job. Gets that done. Moves up into third temporarily. So the Ferrari now with clear air. Can he start to pull away from Jordan? Of course, got Vanzantino now finally diving into the pits to swap off the medium compound tire. On lap 14 of 26. Of course, Jordan will have DRS advantage here. Of course, with that dirty air, can he get a strong enough exit? Jordan looking to the inside here. He'll tuck back in, though. So Mango will stay out front, at least for a little while longer. Kaname, meanwhile, has sadly dropped all the way back to 13th with that disconnect. Mango, bit of a wiggle, and there's Jordan. No, apologies. It's just a bit of odd-looking lag there from my end. As Mango still in third, you can see the Racing Bulls continue to close. Bit of understeer there for Mango, so you can see... seemed pretty comfortable through there as we head into Maggots and Beckett's. See the cars behind continuing to close. But now it's going to be Jordan having to deal with this dirty air. Mango, good exit, but Jordan even better. But does he have the straight line speed? Stay with the rear wing view of this Ferrari as Jordan closes, but isn't going to be close enough by the time we get into that braking zone. So it'll remain Mango in third. And Mango actually going to dive into the pits here now that he got that overtake done. So he's going to try to get the undercut done. Of course, being on controller is going to be one of the drivers that almost certainly is going to have to box again. So Mango will get aggressive early as he thinks those tires are done. That'll promote Jordan back up into third. And Mango is the only one to dive into pits this lap. Will put on a fresh set of hard compound tires. You got a Haas round. That is former Kitten who's made a mistake. And again, you can see those rear tires very much cooked as he struggles to get back on the power. B-Tom, meanwhile, just kept Jerome at a bit of an arm's length here as we push on here on lap 15 of 26. And Jerome doing a nice job just trying to stay within DRS range. B-Tom trying to pull away, and it's very tight in terms of ERS usage between the two drivers. B-Tom, though, with quite a big advantage, which I think shows you that Jerome's, definitely content a little bit to sit behind, but certainly doesn't want to let B-Tom have any opportunity to pull away. So they'll get back under power, but now it's Lurka who's going to be working to try to find a way past Jordan. See if he gets it done. Of course, DRS is going to be open here. He's going to be dumping all the batteries. We come down the main street into the braking zone. Lurka, though, not going to make that move. Is going to hold back for the moment. Not quite far enough alongside to be able to gamble with a move. Looks like we got the Sauber of NK7 Hitch diving in as the lone driver in this group on the medium tire. So at least give Mango one position back there as the Sauber pits. We'll make our way through the first couple of corners again. And Lurka's still very tight. He'll go to the inside here at turn number 3. Jordan able to carry just enough speed, able to kind of give Lurka the squeeze there. Still hold on to that space, but how much will Jordan be compromised now? As we head into turn number 5, can Lurkin now get a move done? He'll look to the inside. Can he get it done this time? A slide up in front very smoothly there. As it looked like a bit of a lockup there from Jordan as well. So it's going to be Lurkin now up into third. And what's been a great recovery drive for the 99 car. Now, how much can he continue to try and chunk away? Former Kitten has made a mistake again, so his rear tires, I think, at this point are completely cooked. Through Maggots and Beckett's again, though. Can Jordan potentially fight it back on Lurkin? You're seeing that gap rise because of how much dirty air there is. That might open the door for Anthrax Robin, as potentially Jordan's starting to struggle. You got a number of drivers trying to find a way through. Of course, with that DRS train, nothing going to come of it. So the Alpine going to have to hold station 4 right now. Again, Jerome still doing a nice job keeping pace with B-Tom. Both drivers really with a lot of DRS in both cars. It's 10 laps to go now. Also, I think important to note that nobody in this group up here did pit on that previous lap. And Mango continued to try and close his 6-12, 13-14. He's got about 18 seconds to make up right now. Or he's final 10 laps. Big wiggle from Lurka, though. That's going to open the door, certainly for Jordan with DRS. As Robin's fallen off the back of Jordan a little bit as well. So potentially move through the final couple of corners. But Jordan just not a lot of straight line speed in that Racing Bulls. Especially when in comparison to his teammate, who seemed to keep Jerome comfortably at bay, even when the Sauber has DRS advantage. We'll see if that changes here, though. Half a second is the gap, which is about as tight as we've seen it through Maggots and Beckett so far this race. We got our third retirement of the race. Again, you're seeing how much that dirty air is a factor through Maggots and Beckett. So that gap opens up to 3/4 of a second. Again, DRS is not going to prove the difference, especially at this phase of the race, where Jerome's going to be using a lot of that ERS in order to just try and keep within range, give himself a shot. The further this race goes on, Lurka, meanwhile, continues to hold off Jordan, who potentially had thought about looking around the outside, but not going to be able to get anything done with it. So again, bit of a DRS train continuing here. Kaname is up into 10th, so he's running solidly. BXT currently in 12th. You got Pete being closed down on by Mango. But again, you got a lot of the field starting to spread out here. As yellow flags there will clear, so we will be fully racing here. I think it's important to consider, will anybody else opt to pit? Does anybody else not trust their tires specifically? Or does anybody else not particularly trust this tire? Will we see anybody try and make a late race pit stop? We've already seen Mango dive into the pits. Of course, he has a time penalty to still consider. Will anybody else follow suit? In the cops once again, though. And again, it's a two-horse race for the win now between B-Tom and Jerome. Will anybody else follow? Is a big, big question as this race continues. Mango about to get by Pete as well. Imagine that should get done by the time they get to cops. The Ferrari and the Mercedes battling away. Mango is going to get that move done. Again, so much of the field just staying kind of stagnant now. It's very much fallen into trying to hold on to the tires, trying to not do anything too rash. Just trying to make sure that you are in with a shot the further this race goes on. Oh, excuse me. Definitely, apologies, put the mic almost down my throat. Again, 10 seconds the advantage that B-Tom and Jerome have at this stage. I don't know off the top of my head, though, what the what the time loss is under pits off the top of my head. It's not insignificant, though. I can say for certain. Mango, though, continuing to look to try and claw back any sort of points. But again, you can see a lot of the field starting to spread out. You got Mac T starting to make a little bit of inroads here on Anthrax Robin. 3/10 the gap between the Aston Martin and the Alpine. As they close in the cops. I imagine that's going to lengthen back out a little bit, and it will. This dirty air proving to be just a bit too much of a factor here. There's definitely an interesting thought. Is this not rain? It's raining! It's raining here at Silverstone! The rain is falling, and so that's going to now make this a very interesting end to this race. So there is, yeah, we got raindrops. It's very light for now. We'll see how much of a difference that makes. You got Robin trying to get a move done on Jordan, who's potentially starting to struggle a little bit. As Robin trying to hang it around the outside there at the final corner, and he will. That'll allow Lurka to pull away. But we got a bit of a wild card here thrown in at the end, as raindrops have started to fall here at Silverstone. It's going to just start to make that a little bit more slick, make this circuit that a little bit more technical, especially in dirty air. And how much will that be a factor now? You got Mac T under pressure from Goatley, as both drivers looking to try and jump up the field. Lurka's now starting to pull away comfortably here, as he looks to try and secure third place. But how much will the rain impact the end of this race? Going to be a very, very important question to ask. Will it induce mistakes from some of these drivers? As well, as going to be something important to keep in mind. You got Goatley maybe trying to get it done on Mac T and the Maggots and Beckett's, but certainly thinking better of it. Robin now leads this train of cars. And not too many laps of racing left to go. Beaton, though, leading still fairly comfortably. It's 6 laps left to go now. And you got a number of drivers diving in. Lurka's in. We got Robin will follow. Mac T. Goatley's in. Looks like Mudev is in. So you got a number of drivers there, and I imagine this is going to be a swap to the intermediate compound tire. What's the call here for all these drivers? It's mediums for Lurka. It's inters for Mac and Goatley. It's softs for Robin. What's Mudev? Mudev's going to soft as well. So you got about a rainbow array of tire choices here. And so what's the difference maker going to be? Will the track get wet enough for inters? And the rain certainly isn't coming down hard, but it's certainly coming down. And the track will get slick very quickly. So who has made the right decision here? I certainly don't think it's time for inters yet. But I think the question is, how quick do we get there? So we're at 9 seconds gap behind. In terms of penalties, Mango got a pit lane speeding penalty. That's the cause of that time penalty. So that'll be a concern there. You can see Macti and Goatley struggling here. You got Mudev battling with Vanzantino down there for 14th. But it definitely doesn't seem to be time for inters yet. But again, how close are we to that point? Here comes Jordan diving the pits. He doesn't think he'll last. You got a Red Bull following. You got Kaname staying out in 5th. Hog Rider stays out. You got BXT making his way in. Mango opts to stay out. So tons and tons of decisions here going on. What's the decision from Jordan? I think is the big question here, because that could tell you where Racing Bull's heads are at. And the choice of tire is the medium. So it's fresh mediums for Jordan and Muncher. BXT will go for the hards that he started this race on. Lurka will get through. He's back up into 6th. The Vanzantino will retire from the session. So that's a manual retirement on track there as well. So that will not bring out a safety car. So very interesting now, as lap 22 of 26, the range continues to fall. And again, I think, we'll jump on board here briefly with MacT. Just kind of see where those inters are at in comparison to those mediums. You got the Haas of Mudev trying to go to the inside of Goatley, as it seems that we're actually at about an even point right now. As you can see, the Ferrari and the Haas behind, bit of contact there, but both drivers somehow managing to hold on. So I think we're very close to the crossover point here, and Jerome pits! Jerome pits from second. So Jerome gets pulled. Now that he has a decent gap behind, Kaname will dive into the pits. And yeah, I don't think it's Inter time. I think we're going to see a lot of first flicks. It's softs for Jerome. Kaname, I imagine, will see largely the same. But Jerome isn't going to risk those tires not holding on, especially in these tricky conditions. Hog Rider stays out. Mango stays out. Here comes Lurka around the final corner. Will he come out? It's Kaname going Inters. So you got about every tire choice except for the full wets currently on the grid. It's currently Beaton by 22 seconds, but of course he's stayed out. The gap behind to Lurka was about 10 seconds. So that's going to be an important gap to keep in mind if Beaton does opt to pit. But at this point, it's going to be a very interesting decision. Jerome on soft, of course, will certainly pick up time on Hog Rider ahead. Lethal Pete will retire in the pits, so that will not bring out any safety car. But yeah, I think it's just going to be tricky conditions here at the end. Kaname is, I think, a little bit quicker than Muncher in some situations. But look at that pack. Making their way into Sector 2. Super, super tight. We'll stay here with this battle for second. Beaton pits. So is this a potential moment for Jerome? He has DRS on Hog Rider here, and of course with much fresher tires, he'll blast around the outside of the McLaren. And he'll get that move done comfortably. It'll be 3 to go here as Beaton gets us started with lap 24. And he'll swap for softs. There's Hog Rider diving into the pits. There's Mango staying out. But here comes Jerome Ellen. Did he make the right call, opting for the soft compound tire? It looks like he will come out with the lead. Where is Beaton? And it's a big advantage. It's a massive advantage for Jerome over everybody behind. He's got 2.5 seconds now. So chaos here towards the end. Again, those inters just not quite fast enough. Kaname is in 8th, MacT's in 9th, so the wetter this track gets, the better those tires will be. But again, that gap's just growing that little bit too quick for the inters to really be any good in this one. So we're soft's the way to go, and how wet will this track stay for the remainder of this race? It's going to be the question that we're going to have to ask. Again, 2.5 seconds is a big advantage for Jerome, and Beaton with a very, very tall order in very tricky conditions over these final 3 laps. Mango's having himself a very good showing as he tries to bring it to the line. Of course, does have that 10-second time penalty from speeding the pits. We saw him box, but of course, I haven't had any pop-ups going on throughout the entirety of this game. We'll go ahead and go to the leader graphic. Mango, as of right now, would be in 6th. Yeah, I got you. Beaton, though, has closed that gap rather considerably. We'll go ahead and throw up penalties as well. Kaname also with a 10-second time penalty, so Kaname certainly out of the points. We'll leave it on tires so you can see what all the different choices are. Beaton, a 1.5 back with 2 to go now. Mango trying to hold off the charging field. Yellow flags, that's for Hitch, who again is just falling way off the pack. Kaname going to dive into the pits here, and I imagine retire here. As those inters not paying dividends here, Kaname will retire. So it's the Alpine out. Mango starting to struggle with a bit of tire wear. That's going to open the door for Lurka to find his way through. Beaton continues to close. It's within 1.3 seconds now. Here comes Lurka. DRS still activated, but Mango stays out in front. Anthrax Robin continuing to close. And Mango, I think, going to hold up Lurka here for a little bit as he just tries to hold on to that Ferrari. Meanwhile, for the lead, Beaton close to within a second now. Hitch will retire. So Hitch is now out. So it's only 13 drivers left, and Beaton throwing everything at this track within a second, but I don't think he's close enough for DRS. Doesn't look like Beaton will have DRS on the penultimate lap here. We'll switch back to the Racing Bull. We'll see if that rear wing opens, and as we go past that DRS detection point, it does not. So Beaton has to remain behind, but still, with a good bit more straight line speed, of course, 1 lap fresher tires. Now that they're up to temperature, can that make the difference? 0.8 is going to be the gap for the win. They will be working through some yellow flags in that first sector, as there will be the ghosted retired Sauber. of MK7 Hitch. And we are on to the final lap of this race. And further behind, the battle for third will continue to heat up between Lurka and Robin as they get underway with the final lap, as Mango's been a bottleneck, has turned that into a battle. Beaton, though, this time will have DRS as rain continues to fall, but certainly still dry weather conditions. So you're going to want to be staying off the curbs. Going to be one of the last attempts for Beaton to have a run at Jerome. He's going to be closing. He's going to have DRS, so he's going to be close to within 4/10, but not able to get it done. Mango continuing to try and hold on. You got Lurka trying to close. Will he try to get the move done early? He will not. Mango doing a nice job keeping them behind. Bit of contact, though, between the Williams and the Ferrari. The leaders, though, heading down into Cops. Really only one opportunity for Beaton to try and come away with this win in a race that's thrown everything at these drivers. It's been raining for the past about 7 laps or so. And so we've seen a late flurry of pit stops come into play. It's going to be DRS range for Beaton. It's going to be all the battery dumped from both these drivers. It's not the greatest exit from Beaton, though. He's down to 3/10 back. Dumping all the batteries, Jerome. Beaton going to go to the outside. Going to try to hang it around the outside there. It's going to be wheel to wheel into the final couple of corners. Contact between Jerome and Beaton. They're side by side in the final braking zone. Who's going to be braver? Jerome will have the inside here. Beaton up on the curb. He'll try to hang around the outside. And as they get on the power, just one more corner left to go. And it's going to be the Racing Bull appearing first. Beaton wins. It's going to be Mango making a bit of a mistake there. It's going to be Lurka appearing around the final corner to come home to take third. Robin in fourth. It's going to be Mango who's probably going to end up in seventh, so certainly still a good result. You got Jordan coming across the line to finish fifth. You got the Red Bull of Muncher on his debut coming home in sixth. You then got Mango in seventh. BXT's had a great recovery drive after getting caught up on the opening lap. He'll finish eighth. Hog Rider will cross the line, at least in 10th for now. Can Mac T jump up into the points? He cannot. It'll be Mudev and then Mac T. Oh, bit of an Ashneer voice there, but what a race. There at the end. Of course, Beaton getting the move done at the last possible opportunity. And that's why this man is a multiple time, has been repeat champion for so many seasons here in Group 1. He'll celebrate on the top step at Silverstone, manage to claw back that 2.5 second gap on the final laps to walk away with that race victory. Of course, there is your look at race winners. Beaton. Fastest lap goes to Mango. Driver of the day goes to Robin. So I think definitely deserved there. And Hog Rider picking up the most overtakes. But there are your results. Mango apparently 2 penalties for 20 seconds, but I don't think that's true. We'll see, probably one of those I think will probably get removed. But Beaton, Jerome, Lurka, Robin, Jordan, Muncher, Burnett, Mudev, Mango, Hog Rider, your current top 10. Of course, it was a very chaotic one. Of course, interesting 2-stop race, 4 stops for BXT as well. Very interesting. Hopefully you did enjoy that. I'll go ahead and get the full order as well for myself later. But again, hopefully you did enjoy. Of course, we've got Group 2 and Group 3 action going on tomorrow at this same circuit. And then we have, what is round 4? I don't know round 4 off the top of my head. So we'll go ahead and give that a look. Round 4, we'll be heading to Suzuka. So definitely be turned to tune in at that same time next week for Group number 1. Until next time, I've been Vacant Taddick, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.